Calling the meeting of the March Board of Regents, a meeting to order, and I'm going to call the roll now. Regent Acker.
Good afternoon. Present.
Regent Beam.
Present.
Regent Bernstein.
Present.
Regent Brown.
Here.
Regent Hubbard.
Here.
Regent Illich.
Here.
Regent Weiser.
Here.
Regent White.
Here.
Good afternoon, and welcome to our March meeting of the Board of Regents. And what a spectacular meeting space we have in the Ruthven Building. This is the first permanent space that the board has had in 10 years, and it's simply stunning. I'm thrilled that we were able to repurpose this Albert Kahn building, preserve historic features, and still create a highly functional environment for everyone in our community to use moving forward. We have a very full agenda today. I want to begin with news about our continuing efforts to address sexual misconduct on campus. As announced earlier today, we're creating a coordinated community response team that will provide input and advice on our future policies, procedures, and prevention efforts that relate to sexual and gender-based misconduct. We see this as another important step toward our vision of becoming a national leader in protecting our community from inappropriate behavior and sexual misconduct. I want to reinforce that we will own our mistakes, learn from them, and share those lessons with all of higher education. We know that many eyes are on Michigan, and I want our university to be at the forefront of making college campuses safer, welcoming, and responsive. While it's only March, this is our last meeting before our spring commencement programs, where we will celebrate the class of 2022 and welcome back the class of 2020, whose ceremony was canceled because of the pandemic. We have an impressive slate of honorary degree recipients to present for your approval today, and are excited to welcome our speakers. Maria Shriver will address the class of 2022. Maria Cloward, the president of Harvey Mudd University, will speak at university graduate exercises, and in a fitting gesture, Dr. Anthony Fauci will welcome the comeback ceremony for the class of 2020. I know we all look forward to celebrating with our students and their families. As we've learned from Dr. Fauci and 2 years of living with COVID, it's impossible to overstate the importance of public health and protocols for preventing the spread of disease. Here on our campus, we recognize this critical work with the Thomas Francis Jr. Medal of Global Public Health. We award the Francis Medal to public health leaders from around the globe who have contributed to a healthier future for our society. The recipient receives a $50,000 award and the opportunity to deliver a keynote address on campus. This week, we opened nominations for our next medal recipient. It is important that we recognize those who make our world a safer and healthier place, and I encourage submissions from members of our community. University presidents have the job of looking ahead, often by decades, as we position our institutions for society's needs. I regularly say that Michigan focuses on the future, and our teaching, research, and healthcare demonstrate that every day. Yet, our momentum and accomplishments will matter little if we do not care for our planet. We must dramatically reduce our carbon footprint. There is no alternative. We must and will become carbon neutral. 10 months ago, the university committed to achieving carbon neutrality across our 3 campuses. It is at the heart of all that we do in the lab, on campus, and in partnership with communities near and far. It informs how we build and power our buildings, light our campuses, deploy our buses, pursue research, and make investments to fund such work. Equally important is how we give our students, staff, and faculty the knowledge and the tools to bring sustainable and just practices into the world. I'm pleased to share several significant announcements that build on our commitment, and Jeff Chattis will expand upon them in just a moment. We will soon be purchasing 100% of our electricity from renewable energy sources. We are planning geothermal exchange systems for our buildings, purchasing electric buses, and fitting more than 70 buildings across 3 campuses with LED lighting. More than being exciting, these climate action efforts are critically important to our collective future. Many, many more people across campus are working to take decisive actions toward meeting our commitments and goals. I'd like to recognize 2 of these leaders, Drew Horning and Lydia Whitbeck. Drew served as Administrative Director of the President's Commission on Carbon Neutrality and a special advisor to the President for our carbon neutrality strategy. Lydia is the project manager for this comprehensive strategy. The Commission on Carbon Neutrality report serves as our roadmap, and I know Drew and Lydia are driving forces behind this work. Because of their commitment and the actions of so many others on all of our campuses, I'm confident that the University of Michigan will continue to take meaningful steps toward climate action. And I'd like for Drew and Lydia to stand for just a minute so that we can recognize them. There they are. So thank you. Thank you. We are also extremely pleased to have recently hired one of the most innovative and aggressive champions of sustainability in higher education, Executive Vice President Jeff Chattis. Jeff, I know that this work is extremely important to you and your team, and I want to thank you for your leadership on this front. Would you like to tell us a little bit more about our latest activity?
Thank you, President Coleman. I'm thrilled to share with you the progress we're making towards our carbon neutrality goals, and we have a few slides to share today. I'd also like to thank and acknowledge Drew Horning and his team for his leadership, and also thank the many people across campus who have contributed to advance this important work I'm talking about today. We go to the next slide, please. As a quick refresher, the university has established the goals listed up on the screen to reduce emissions from purchased power to net zero, scope 2 by 2025, to eliminate direct on-campus greenhouse gas emissions, scope 1 by 2040, and to establish net zero goals by 2025 for indirect emissions sources, which is scope 3. We're also working to instill a university-wide culture of sustainability with justice as a core principle. Next slide, please. I'm extremely pleased to announce that U of M is on pace to reduce greenhouse gases scope 1 and 2 by 50% by 2025, which is both 5 years ahead of and exceeds the United Nations Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change, or IPCC, guidance to reduce emissions by 45% by 2030. We're also on track to reduce scope 1 and 2 emissions by 100% by 2040, which is 10 years ahead of the IPCC's global target. U of M just launched a dashboard that tracks our emissions reduction efforts, which you can click through at planetblue.umich.edu. And you can see a screenshot of this tool on this slide, with the red line showing our progress of reducing emissions. You'll see the dark blue line, which is our absolute building usage. What's astounding about this graph is that over this period of 10 years, we have added 5 million square feet of space, and yet our emissions has remained flat. And as we now layer on the renewable energy and our commitment to continuing reducing our footprint, you'll see how it is expected to play out in the coming years. I want to share a few highlights of the steps we're currently taking to achieve these goals. The next slide, please. First, on purchase power. We're moving forward with procuring 100% of our purchased electricity from renewable energy sources, which will take our indirect emission scope 2, historically the largest source of the U of M greenhouse gas emissions, to net zero by 2025. As outlined in the PCCN recommendations, we have issued a request for 160 million kilowatt hours of electricity per year from renewable sources such as solar or wind. This is in addition to the 200 million kilowatt hours per year we are already purchasing from renewable sources. The total 360 million kilowatt hours per year of renewable electricity means 100% of the university's purchased electricity for the entire Ann Arbor campus, Dearborn, and Flint will be from renewable energy sources through these purchase power agreements. Once in place, the associated carbon reduction will be the equivalent to removing every motor vehicle registered in the city of Ann Arbor, 70,000 cars, from the road. Next slide, please. As specified in the President's Commission on Carbon Neutrality, the PCCN report, we are launching a utility master planning effort for North Campus focused on decarbonizing the entire heating and cooling infrastructure of that campus district by installing geothermal exchange systems. While completing this effort will take time, we are not waiting to take action. We are moving forward with 3 geothermal projects, both to gain experience with these systems and inform the implementation of future projects. The Line-Weber Computer Science and Information Building will be the first large-scale university building to not rely on natural gas for heating. And you can see up in this chart the size of the field relative to the dotted field, which is a football field. It takes a lot of space, and this is our commitment in this first building to implement this in the next year. The newly announced North Campus Residence Hall, which will add 1,200 beds to campus, will be heated and cooled by a geothermal exchange system. And these first 2 projects will ultimately be incorporated into the larger North Campus Utilities Master Plan. In addition to these efforts, we're also installing a geo exchange system for the Ginsberg Center on Central Campus. And when powered by renewable electricity, geothermal exchange systems are a highly efficient way to heat and cool buildings, increasing energy efficiency by a factor of 3. Next slide, please. We're also announcing a $10 million new investment in LED lighting energy conservation projects across the Ann Arbor, Flint, and Dearborn campuses, covering an estimated 10 million square feet of space in approximately 100 buildings. They tell me this is over 250,000 LEDs that will be installed across our campuses. This investment will be made from the $25 million revolving energy fund, which provides units across the entire university with funding support to pursue energy efficiency projects. Annual savings resulting from these projects will be reinvested in the fund to support future projects in perpetuity. This new $10 million investment puts us well ahead of our original $5 million per year target for this fund. I'm also pleased to announce that we're taking steps to decarbonize our vehicle fleet, and we have purchased 4 all-electric buses for deployment next year on the Ann Arbor campus. This will include 3 standard 40-foot buses as well as a 60-foot articulated bus, and they represent our first of what will become an entire fleet of electric buses for our campus community. Pictures up on the slide there of what they'll look like. Our sustainable transit work doesn't end there. We're working to expand electric vehicle charging on and off campus in coordination with the city of Ann Arbor, and we look forward to pursuing similar collaborations in Dearborn and Flint as well. We're also working on a plan to improve connectivity between North Campus and Central Campus, exploring leading-edge mass transit technology while maintaining a sustainable built environment and a commitment to carbon neutrality. Next slide, please. We're also looking at opportunities to advance carbon neutrality goals through high-impact financial strategies. As you heard earlier this month, we are funding much of this work through our first ever green bonds totaling $300 million. The bonds will provide U of M with the capital at an attractive rate of interest and will be used exclusively to finance projects that align with U of M's climate action goals. In addition, the University Investment Office has established a strong commitment to making high-impact renewable investments and substantial investments in sustainable infrastructure as the endowment transitions to a net zero portfolio. Specifically, the Investment Office is invested in renewable energy development and production, such as solar energy generation development amongst others. In addition, the office is in the early stages of investment in several projects designed to advance carbon sequestration and mitigation. By partnering with experienced, capable operators, the university will be able to take advantage of outsized returns available to agile first movers. At the same time, U of M has exited directly held positions in publicly traded companies that are largely that are the largest contributors to greenhouse gases and has ceased making commitments to funds primarily focused on oil reserves, oil extraction, or thermal coal extraction. We believe that it is possible to make a large, measurable impact on reducing the carbon footprint of the portfolio before there's a standard approach to carbon accounting, and we look forward to sharing more details about these investment strategies in the coming months. Thank you.
Thank you. Today marks a critical moment in transition for our community, too. With your approval, Dr. Lori McCauley will become Provost and Executive Vice President for Academic Affairs beginning in mid-May. As you know, Dr. McCauley is Dean of the School of Dentistry, a proven academic leader, and a respected administrator. Her expertise and experience will provide critical leadership and stability as a new president comes on board. She is with us today, and I want to thank her for her willingness to assume this vital role. Lori, where are you? And so you can stand and people can see. Dr. McCauley's appointment also means that we're preparing to say goodbye to Provost Susan Collins. Today is her final Board of Regents meeting, and it's bittersweet for all of us, especially me. She is concluding her very distinguished tenure at Michigan to become the president and CEO of the Federal Reserve Bank of Boston. Susan, thank you for your leadership, integrity, and wise counsel, both as Dean of the Ford School of Public Policy and as Provost. Personally, you have been a tremendous source of support in my return as president, and I am very grateful. Regent Weiser, I believe that you would like to make some remarks.
Yes, you and Sue. To the podium, please.
Yes. It's right over there.
Susan, the Regents of the University of Michigan congratulate you, Susan M. Collins, who will be stepping down on May 15th, having been named President and CEO of the Federal Reserve Bank of Boston. And might I add personally, that's quite an honor, especially in these times. She will assume her new role on July 1st. Provost Collins came to the university in 2007 as the Wild Dean of the Gerald R. Ford School of Public Policy. She is also the Edward Gramlich Collegiate Professor of Public Policy and Professor of Economics. In July of 2020, she became Provost and Executive Vice President for Academic Affairs, serving as acting beginning in 2020 and interim beginning in March 2020, and beginning the process of restoring stability and confidence in that office and on campus, amid a global pandemic and all the uncertainties that came with it. As a scholar, teacher, and leader, Provost Collins recognizes the value of diversity and inclusion, working tirelessly to make the university a place in which people of all backgrounds thrive. Provost Collins helped prepare students to become influential leaders and researchers ready to tackle real-world problems through steadfast service and thoughtful policies. A collaborator and leader, she lived her own adage: if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together. It is with deep appreciation and recognition of her dedication and service, the Regents wish her every success in her new role. Provost Collins, signed by all of us. Thank you very much.
So before you say anything, I would now like to call on Regent White.
Thank you, President Coleman. The Board of Regents has recommended that a Regents Citation of Honor be awarded to Susan M. Collins. Pursuant to Regents Bylaw 9.05, the Regents Citation of Honor is conferred by the Regents upon individuals who have made extraordinary contributions to the life and welfare of the university, or who by unusual or unique accomplishment or service merit the approbation of the Board of Regents. I move that the board bestows at the spring commencement the Regents Citation of Honor on Provost Susan M. Collins in recognition of her steadfast leadership and dedication to the university during a period of unprecedented challenges.
And do we have a second?
Second.
Now, Susan, would you like to? We need a vote.
Let's vote.
Okay, I'm sorry. Now, is there a vote to approve? All in favor say aye. Okay, unanimous. Now, yeah. So, Susan, the floor is yours.
Wow. First of all, thank you very much. The resolution was an honor that is very meaningful for me. And I have to say, I'm humbled to be awarded a citation. My goodness. This is a fabulous university, and serving as provost, particularly I'd say during a difficult time, has really been a privilege. It's also been a privilege to work with so many wonderful leaders at this university. And so I just wanted to acknowledge and thank the deans, the executive officer team, who've been fabulous partners. President Coleman, just a delight to work together. The board, and especially the phenomenal provost office team, really are just tremendous in every way. It has been a team effort, and together, I do believe we have gone far. So let me just say thank you very much. I'm a bit overwhelmed.
And now I call on Regent Acker for a report.
Oh, there we're good. Thank you. Thank you, President Coleman. The board had some important conversations at its strategic meeting earlier this month. We spent time discussing optimal enrollment at U of M over the long haul as we balance excellence with the ability to support all of our students to graduation. We were pleased to hear about the improvement to our graduation rate from 90 to 93% in recent years, which is incredible considering the significant increase in enrollment over the past 7 years or so. It's excellent news, but we won't rest until we can ensure that every student is succeeding and thriving. The board is looking and looked at our retreat at long-term plans for student housing, knowing that we have some units that need to be replaced both on North Campus and Central Campus, and we have demand that exceeds supply right now by about 1,800 beds. There is agreement that we want to accommodate that demand for housing for sophomores, transfers, and other students who want university housing. We also had the opportunity to meet with our Alumni Association Board, a talented group of individuals from across the country who care deeply about this university and provided their insights both on what's going on at our institution as well as our ongoing presidential search. So we're looking at long-term planning and housing on North Campus, Central Campus, and the property on Fifth Avenue, formerly known as Finger Lay Lumber, as well as other possible locations for expansion. Nothing has been decided, but this is all under discussion, and we will welcome input from students, and that will be sought by Martino Harmon. I also want to comment on today's announcement regarding the creation of the Coordinated Community Response Team. I want to thank again our survivor community for continuing to share their stories and to help us become a better university when it comes to preventing sexual misconduct as well as education and support. This is an important step, but we know we must continue our work to shape our policies and practices into the future, and we are committed to doing so. I'll now turn to Presidential Search Committee Co-Chair Regent Denise Illich, who will provide an update on the search process. Regent Illich?
Thank you, Regent Acker. On behalf of my co-chair, Regent Hubbard, as well as the entire Board of Regents, I want to say how grateful we are for the outpouring of community engagement and feedback we've received since the beginning of this presidential search process. As you know, we've selected and charged a representative search committee consisting of the 8 regents and 18 members across students, faculty, staff, and alumni. Throughout February, we held 6 individual listening sessions for U of M community members, including specific sessions for all faculty, staff, students, Michigan Medicine, and the Dearborn and Flint campus communities. We also had sessions with alumni. Additionally, over 1,000 University of Michigan community members completed our feedback survey, sharing their opinions and echoing many of the themes we heard in the listening sessions. One of the major themes we heard was that, number one, it is important that the next president rebuild trust and accountability within the university community, leading with integrity, and readdressing past abuses and sexual misconduct. I was struck by, in all sessions, the observations of being heard and of listening and of being appreciated and hearing the words, thank you. And I share that so that we're reminded of that every day. We don't have to wait for our new president to get here to work on that. Other themes we heard include continuing the commitment to our carbon neutrality and climate justice goals, having an actionable plan for diversity, equity, and inclusion across Ann Arbor, Dearborn, and Flint, championing support for research funding and interdisciplinary infrastructure, and dedicating themselves to the success of the full Michigan community, students, faculty, and staff alike. We also heard one concern that we thought we could address immediately was around our exterior doors. So some people in our community have shared that they have difficulty, particularly if they have a physical disability, difficulty opening exterior doors to university buildings. So we spoke with our Associate Vice President of Facilities and Operations, and he had shared some background. The university has required automatic door openers for new buildings and major renovations since 2019. So a digital map of accessible pathways into all Ann Arbor campus buildings will be completed by September of 2022 and made available to the public. We commit to prioritize and provide an automatic door operator into all of our public buildings. Right now, we have 50 buildings in need of that. We already have several hundred automatic door openers on entry doors, but if there is a specific door that's difficult to open, please email myself, my email's on our website, or the Associate Vice President of Facilities and Operations at sorry about this, I hope you remember it, avpfo@umich.edu. avpfo@universityofmichigan.edu. We have one more listening session at the end of this meeting, and when that's completed, we will incorporate all of this feedback into a position profile, which will be posted publicly next week and shared with potential candidates. We appreciate everyone's candor and input. We have heard it. And as the committee and our search consultants begin the work of identifying and reviewing candidates, we look forward to sharing news of an appointment over the summer. Thank you.
Thank you, Regent Illich. Now I'm going to call on Executive Vice President Marshall Runge, who's going to introduce a presentation for us about some very exciting research going on.
Thank you, President Coleman. It's my pleasure to introduce Dr. Paul Soderna, who's Chief of the Division of the Section of Plastic Surgery here and Professor in the Department of Biomedical Engineering at the University of Michigan, who specializes in reconstruction of complex wounds. There is wonderful research going on across the campus at the University of Michigan every single day, but I don't think you'll ever hear a more exciting presentation than Paul's and his team's work connecting nerves to mechanical devices and specifically helping people with injuries, specifically those who need an artificial hand. So without further ado, Paul.
Thank you, Executive Vice Dean Runge. I really appreciate it. So I'm going to take you on a little bit of journey that we've been on the past few years, trying to figure out ways to reestablish function of people who've lost limbs. So it has been 40 years since Luke Skywalker got this prosthetic hand that worked beautifully. And we all remember this. But in that past 40 years since then, what have we gotten? We've gotten some powered legs, some powered arms, maybe a prosthetic hand that can hold a potato chip, or even like this advanced prosthetic arm That's amazing. The problem is, it's like a brand new car in your garage and you don't have a driver's license or keys for it. So what have we done? I've put together a team that spans the entire University of Michigan, Central Campus, North Campus, the medical campus. We have people from the Department of Surgery, biomedical engineering, kinesiology, and mechanical engineering. We all came together to develop this research program to advance functional restoration. And what we decided to do is we were going to connect up with the peripheral nervous system. And in the peripheral nerves, every single signal you need to control a hand is there. All you have to do is get it out. We designed a way of attaching small pieces of muscle to the end of these little nerves. They act as amplifiers to grow the signals in the nerves so that we can pick up those signals and control the prosthesis even if someone doesn't have a hand. So the way it works is your brain thinks, move my thumb. The signal comes down to the RPNIs and we record that neural activity. We decode that activity and we feed a signal to the prosthesis and the prosthesis moves. The prosthesis has sensors on the fingertips, and when the sensors pick up senses on the prosthesis, we take that data, we encode that data, and we stimulate the nerves back to give people sensations so the prosthetic hand moves and it feels. So this right here is one of our patients, and he has multiple regenerative peripheral nerve interfaces in. It takes 4 different signals to be able to move a thumb in this way, and he's moving his prosthetic thumb just like a normal thumb. Here he's picking up box from one side to the other with these little blocks using his index finger and his thumb, just like someone would normally. Here he's going to turn a key just like you or I would turn a key. Grab the key, turn our thumb and index finger in relation to each other, and pull it out, just like a normal hand. He can transition from different positions. This prosthetic hand, the middle finger, ring finger, and small finger don't move independently. They move as a single unit, but controlling the signals from his brain, we have the ability to give individual finger control. Our second patient was an unfortunate young woman who had a bad hand infection. She had horrible neuroma pain and phantom pain, no movement in her hand, and elected to have an amputation and us to perform RPNIs for prosthetic control. In the front, the white hand you're looking at is what we're asking her to do. And in the back, that's her computer avatar hand. And she is controlling that computer avatar hand just with her brain signals and our connection with her peripheral nerves. And you can see how many different hand postures are available. In fact, far better than any prosthetic that's actually out there and available for her to use. And here she is, and she's going to demonstrate for us how she can actually move each of her individual fingers like you or I would. I just have to say for the record, I did not ask her to wear this shirt. She wore it on her own, but I fully support her wearing that shirt. But you see, she has all 5 fingers she controls just like you or I would control our fingers. So here's a small video clip. If you could turn the volume up, please. And if you could restart it from the beginning. Thank you.
That brings you back to a sense of normalcy. It's like you have a hand again.
Advanced prosthetic hands on the market can do lots of things.
These are beautiful prosthetics with incredible capabilities, but we've had no way to control them.
To get that kind of control, you really have to go to the nerves.
The problem with most of the technologies we have is that the signals are really tiny. You have tiny little peripheral nerve signals, and you have noise in those signals that's about the same size. So when you try to hear what a peripheral nerve is saying, you actually can't hear it. We designed a way to connect up with the peripheral nerves with a piece of muscle. And then what happens is when a tiny little peripheral nerve signal comes down the nerve, it goes into the muscle and it becomes a huge muscle signal.
We've now seen, to my knowledge, the largest voltage recorded from a nerve compared to all previous results. That makes these signals big enough that we can record them and interpret them for controlling a prosthetic hand.
Brought back into my mind the thought of, well, if I had something like this, I could actually be out working without risking hurting myself.
I think it's a really good step into the future. It's a good way to move forward for not only me, but for other people.
You can make a prosthetic hand do a lot of things, but that doesn't mean that the person is intuitively controlling it. So the difference is the person just thinks about moving. This worked on the very first time we tried it. So now we can access signals associated with individual thumb movement, multi-degree of freedom thumb movement, individuated fingers, and this opens up a whole new world for people who are upper limb prosthesis users.
We are so lucky to work at the University of Michigan. What we've been able to do here is we've been able to do it because of such a strong College of Engineering, because of such a strong medical school, because of such a strong central campus. It gives us an opportunity to make huge impacts on the world that cannot be made in any other university in the US and certainly across the world. So I just want to thank all of you for the opportunity to present the work we're doing. And it has been such a privilege for me to be able to be a faculty member at the University of Michigan and to be able to make these advances. So thank you.
Thank you. This is tremendous. Just a minute. I think Regent Bernstein wants to say something to you.
Marshall, you're right. That was spectacular. And how many, a question and then I want to share an observation. How many units at the university, what disciplines were involved in that, in your work across our campus?
Yeah, so originally in 2007, we got our first grant, and at that time it was biomedical engineering, it was material science, it was chemical engineering, it was cellular and molecular biology, and then it was us in the medical school.
And the reason I ask is, it's, we often talk, I've heard President Coleman talk about this in the short time that she's been here this time, about the scope and breadth of excellence at this university, which is really remarkable. And this exemplifies the importance of that. There are very few institutions in society that have the ability to marshal the expertise and the resources and the scholarship and to even put together that type of a team across a campus. And it's just, for me, it makes it, I'm so grateful and proud because it demonstrates that if you want to, as we do, solve and address the most complex, consequential problems or challenges in our society, you have to be really good at a lot of different things, and not just in this area, but in many other areas. And so I'm just, it's just extraordinary, and I'm really grateful, and thank you for sharing that.
Yeah.
Now, the big question is, can you develop a hand that can shoot a high percentage of three-point shots?
Yeah, exactly. Well, thank you for those comments. I will tell you, I think a lot of innovation and discovery happens in small labs behind closed doors, but big things happen with incredible teams with extensive expertise around a diverse array of areas. And on top of that, we also have an incredible supportive network. The Maxine and Stuart Frankel are supporting some of this work as well as we're developing a totally implantable system, which very few universities have that level of support to do those kinds of things that none of our federal agencies would financially support. And so not only do you have the support for the research itself, but you have all of the other support to make these things a reality and translate them from a dark lab in the back of some building to something that's helping real humans every single day. So
could I ask you a question? Is the hand the hardest thing to do?
By far.
That's what I thought. The motion of the hand is a miracle with
Yep.
fingers and grips. So kudos to you that you picked a really hard problem and you've made tremendous progress.
Yeah.
It's so great to hear. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming. Thank you. We're now going to move to our regular business agenda, and we have committee reports for Regent Hubbard, Finance, Audit, and Investment.
Thank you. The Finance, Audit, and Investment Committee met to review the 2022 audit completion and the external audit plan and fees. The committee also met with representatives of PricewaterhouseCoopers. Members of the U of M Alumni Association Board also joined our meeting to discuss impact investments. And I also wanted to thank EVP Jeff Chattis and his team on the renewal of our AAA bond ratings. I had the pleasure of joining the team in New York City and participate in the discussions in February. This action led to the sale of record size college century bonds and the $300 million in our green bonds, as he reported on earlier. Thank you.
Great, thank you. Health Affairs, Regent Brown.
Thank you, President Coleman. The Health Affairs Committee, including members Acker and Hubbard, met and reviewed and discussed various topics, including the financial dashboard. Some topics of note. The leadership discussed they're actively working to strengthen and expand our activities with other key strategic affiliates around the state. One research honor is Dr. Arul Shinayan has been awarded the prestigious Schoberg Prize for Cancer Research. This renowned Michigan medicine researcher was recognized by the Royal Swedish Academy of Science for pioneering prostate cancer discoveries. His groundbreaking research has led to a better understanding of how prostate cancer develops and improves methods to detect the disease. One unfortunate update, there was tragic news this month coming out of our partner, Mid-Michigan, truly. Mid-Michigan Health CEO Diane Posler-Slattery and her husband Don were killed in a plane crash in Florida. So our condolences have been extended to the entire My Michigan Health Board and team. I had the pleasure of knowing Dr. Slattery and actually attending a football game with her and her husband, and it's a huge, huge loss. Thank you.
Thank you. Personnel, Compensation, and Governance, Regent Illich.
Thank you, President Coleman. The PCG Committee, including members Acker and Bernstein, along with Regents Beam, Brown, and Hubbard, we met and received an update on searches and reappointments. We also discussed presidential evaluations and received an update from Guidepost Solutions. Thank you.
Thank you. Flint and Dearborn Committee, Regent Beam.
Thanks, President Coleman. The Committee on Flint and Dearborn, including members Acker, Bernstein, Hubbard, and Illich, met with Chancellors Dutta and Grasso to discuss preliminary budgets for 2022 and 2023. Thank you.
Public comment. We do have two speakers who signed up on an agenda-related topic, so we will call those two speakers now. I will tell each of the speakers you have 2 minutes to address the board, and then there will be a buzzer if you're not wrapped up. And then we will return to our regular business agenda. Our first agenda-related speaker is Kevin Orlowski. Kevin, there's a mic in the middle of the room. Thanks.
Good afternoon. My name is Kevin Orlowski, and I'm currently a junior studying Spanish and political science here at the University of Michigan. I'm currently vice president of the Building a Better Michigan student organization on campus, which advises on and advocates for the renovations and updating of university unions and recreational sports facilities. I'm here to firstly thank you for your financial help with past projects we've advocated for, and more urgently, to discuss the plans for replacement of the Central Campus Recreation Building. My Building a Better Michigan predecessors have enjoyed the unique opportunity to take part in landmark projects like the Intramural Sports Building, the North Campus Recreation Building, the Michigan Union renovations, the Mitchell Field improvements, and the Fireside Cafe in Pierpont Commons. We are grateful for the support you have shown to all these facilities, which are central to the student experience. I'm excited and proud to be contributing to the final project in this group of crucial campus improvements. Our Building a Better Michigan organization and the student population at large are eager for the CCRB replacement project to get up off the ground, and only through administrative green light can this occur. To our great excitement, the approval for the resumption of the CCRB replacement was given in September of this past fall, as well as the confirmation that the university plans to maintain the scope of the original plan. We were nervous that we may encounter challenges while the project was put on hold, and we appreciate the understanding that its full scope is necessary. Since the reapproval, we have hit the ground running in our efforts to keep the project on track. As we emerge from the very pandemic that originally postponed the new CCRB, a more lively and recovering campus has needs that cannot be met by our current CCRB. As a user of the CCRB myself, I can add personally that the building's schematics and decades-old design do not reflect the UMISS chic that originally drew me to this campus. With the outdated CCRB crowded daily, it's evident that expansion is long overdue. We look forward to your support for the construction and completion of the new CCRB. It's been a long road, and we love that you stayed committed to our experience. Thank you for the opportunity to speak here, and I hope that you will consider our requests.
Thank you. Our next speaker on an agenda-related topic is Linda Martinson.
Good afternoon. I'm appalled and disgusted by the Regents' reappointment of Mary Sue Coleman. If you really wanted to restore the dignity and reputation of the University of Michigan, you would not have rehired her. At the end of Coleman's tenure, her administration was embroiled in several serious scandals, most notably that of place kicker Brenda Gibbons' rape, which went unaddressed for 4 years until October 2013, when the Regents initiated an investigation in response to the public comments in September, and the Stephen Jensen Mott Children's Hospital child pornography case that was covered up for 6 months until November 2011, when the Regents were advised. The Gibbons case brought to light the fact that Coleman's policies were designed to cover up misconduct by student athletes and discourage the reporting of all rape cases. The Jensen case demonstrated that, under Coleman's leadership, the number one priority was to protect the university's reputation at the expense of covering up crimes such as child pornography. There was never any public accounting for the colossal failures, but 4 high-level executives, including Scarnecchia, Slotto, Peskovitz, and Coleman, left the university during these scandals. I'm not here to defend Schlissel, but I think the manner in which he was fired was unnecessarily brutal and despicable. For the record, I would much prefer a president who had a discreet extramarital affair while his wife was living in California to a president who was grossly indifferent to serious sexual misconduct and is willing to run the risk of letting loose a third-year pediatric oncology resident to become a monster like Robert Anderson to prey on children. In addition, I prefer a public university president who doesn't refuse to be interviewed by state police after the suicide of a former employee, Chief Odell, who abruptly resigned in the midst of a scandal. As to the presidential search, what matters to me most is a 100% commitment to transparency and strict adherence to the newly enacted SPG policies to protect victims of sexual abuse and whistleblowers. Thank you.
We'll now go to the consent agenda. We are going to student life report. Vice President Harmon.
Thank you, President Coleman. I am so proud and appreciative that students have been engaged, connected, and active in their college experience this year, all while staying safe and committed to the Wolverine culture of care. I also want to congratulate all of our undergraduate, graduate, and professional students who will graduate soon. We know that you will join the many great Michigan alums all around the world who do good and do it well. Congratulations, Wolverines. You're in the home stretch, and go blue.
Thank you. Dearborn campus report, Chancellor Grassel.
Thank you, President Coleman. We had a terrific Giving Blue Day at U of M Dearborn, the most successful in our history, with over 1,000 gifts. The gifts totaled well into the six digits, and the largest beneficiary was the Go Blue Guarantee Endowment, with over 50% of our senior officers contributing to that. Dr. Christiane Stewart from our Department of Language, Culture, and Communication received a Fulbright Scholar Award for her project titled Being Human Today, a digital storytelling pedagogy for teaching English or training future educators. She'll be doing her work at the University of the Peloponnese in Greece. This week, I met with members of the Higher Education Subcommittee from Lansing, and I encouraged them to support the governor's higher education budget, both funding and capital outlay. I also provided updates on the great work we're doing at Dearborn. Earlier this month, I attended the President's Convening on College Student Mental Health and Well-Being at Georgetown University, sponsored by the Mary Christie Institute. It was very enlightening and thoughtful in its presentations and discussion. I've asked my leadership team to work with me to strategically focus on improving mental health and well-being of our students, faculty, and staff on campus. And finally, we invited from this meeting Clayton Spencer, president of Bates College, to visit us on campus to talk about their transformative initiative on purposeful work, which aligns well with our practice-based university initiative. Thank you.
Thank you. Flint campus report, Chancellor Duda.
Yeah, thank you, President Coleman. Let me also start with Giving Blue Day. It was a big success for U of M Flint. We raised over $300,000, and we came second amongst all units across the 3 campuses like last year. It's a friendly competition. I'm very proud of this collective effort, and I thank our university advancement team and all the participants for their support. For the first time, a team of undergraduate students from U of M Flint have been selected to compete in the NASA Human Exploration Rover Challenge. They represent engineering, computer science, computer information systems, and mathematics. The competition will take place during a series of virtual events throughout the month of April. Entrepreneurship is thriving on campus. Our Hagerman Center for Entrepreneurship and Innovation runs the Zillion Solutions competition, and this year we have over 500 submissions from all academic areas, including arts and sciences, education and human services, health sciences, management, and nursing. Engaging and helping the Flint community is an important part of the work done by our faculty, staff, and students. A program led by management professor Kathy Miller brings together U of M Flint students and alumni to help prepare income tax returns for Flint and Genesee County families. In this tax season, thus far, U of M Flint has helped prepare over 150 returns, bringing in over $250,000 of refunds to the community. Our EDA Center for Community and Economic Development works with the City of Flint's Community Navigator Program, which is a SBA, Small Business Association funded program to support Flint underserved businesses. With $80,000 in funding from the EDA, U of M Flint staff and faculty are helping entrepreneurs start businesses in the city by providing them technical assistance, coaching, workshops, etc. The center has also received additional funding from EDA to develop a comprehensive economic development strategy for Genesee, Lapeer, and Shiawassee counties. Finally, I'm pleased to report that our new Murchie Science Building extension has just received the LEED Silver certification. This is the first LEED building on our campus, so I take the opportunity to congratulate the project team that included people from Flint and Ann Arbor. Thank you.
Thank you. We now have the CSG President Nithya Arun to talk about student government report.
Okay, hello. Thank you for the opportunity to speak to you all today. To start, I would like to discuss the menstrual product program. We recognize the significance of this project and its impact on campus. It is great that there are free menstrual products in the first floor bathrooms across many buildings on campus. However, there still lies difficulty for staff, faculty, and students who do not have class or teach on the first floor. We encourage the Board of Regents to expand this program beyond the first floor bathrooms in order to serve the campus community and make the products more accessible to all. Secondly, last semester, CSG, along with the United Asian American Organization and the South Asian Awareness Network, put together a series of events looking into James B. Angel. While Angel was the longest serving president of the University of Michigan, no problem. Where was I? Okay, while Angel was the longest serving president of the University of Michigan, he developed the Angel Treaty, which served as a precursor to the Chinese Exclusion Act. While Angel did not close the door on Chinese immigration in totality, his treaty set a precedent which gave the United States the authority to selectively allow people to immigrate based on their race, ethnicity, and religion. The University of Michigan has to reckon with its racist history, and in doing so, must bring justice to the marginalized groups that have been affected by racist policies put forth by people whose names are on our buildings. A good first step is to acknowledge those harms, and the next is to do something about it, such as changing the name and/or hosting a teach-in, and finally and absolutely amplifying the voices of communities of color in practice, not just in theory. I'm saying this here because you are the Board of Regents of a university that has committed to improving DEI efforts. Failure to address this harm the institution has done and continues to do by way of continuing structurally racist practices is discordant with this commitment and will reveal that the proclaimed DEI efforts are in fact performative. Additionally, CSG has been working to increase our student fee. We implement recurring programs that are heavily utilized by students, such as a free subscription to the New York Times and Wall Street Journal, a GRE, MCAT, and LSAT test prep program provided at reduced cost, subsidized transportation to and from the airport for major breaks, and significant student org funding. Unfortunately, given that our current student fee is set at $9.19, these programs are becoming unsustainable for CSG's budget. So when the time comes to vote on the new budget, I urge you to vote in favor of a fee increase. In addition to the aforementioned topics, I want to issue my formal support for a $15 minimum wage for student workers. CSG recently administered 2 surveys on housing and student worker conditions. Based on the survey results, respondents pay a median rent of $760, while the median wage pays around $480 each month, which comes out to $12 an hour. This means that students cannot afford to live in Ann Arbor even with a $15 minimum wage, much less a $12 wage. This is especially disheartening in the face of an announcement that a new scoreboard will be purchased for $41 million to quote unquote enhance the fan experience. I hope that we will also prioritize the experience our students in their struggle to attend class, work a job, pay rent, tuition, and other expenses. On a final note, this will be my last Regents meeting with you all. I wanted to highlight some accomplishments from our administration, including the preliminary implementation of the menstrual product program and successful advocacy efforts such as the passage of the ELO, which is the early leasing ordinance, the expansion of the Go Blue guarantee, CAPS appointments for all students in the summer, and a counselor office hours program through CAPS. I also do want to acknowledge that these efforts did not just pass because of CSG, and many organizations on campus, such as GEO and 1U, were involved in spearheading these initiatives. Additionally, we have worked with Maize and Blue Cupboard to offer more cultural foods, collaborated with Rackham Student Government to develop an anti-racism scholarship and award, and spearheaded the first ever CSG-sponsored clothing exchange, among other programming efforts. In terms of timeline, the next president and vice president will be sworn in 2 weeks. I strongly encourage you to talk to whoever takes on this role after me. During our tenure, we had hoped to collaborate more with the Board of Regents on initiatives significant to the student body and campus community, as this university could not exist without its students, faculty, and staff. I urge you all to seek out opportunities to connect with students, and I hope you will do so during our successor's term. Thank you.
Thank you. Under our personnel actions, Provost Collins has some comments.
Thank you, President Coleman. I have no additional personnel matters to bring forward. However, I would like to share some information regarding our students from Ukraine and Russia. We currently have 7 students from Ukraine and 21 from Russia. As you can imagine, this is a very difficult time for them, and we have been in touch with each of them. We have responded by providing them with information about support services and by taking action to ensure that they can continue their education here despite financial constraints and other difficulties in their home countries. Many of these students had unpaid balances on their student accounts, and such balances can prevent students from registering for upcoming terms. To address this, we've removed late payment fees, prevented future late payment fees from occurring on their accounts, removed registration holds due to outstanding tuition balances as well. And with these actions, the affected students will be allowed to register for spring, summer, and fall terms, and we'll continue to monitor the situation and to support our students throughout this very challenging time. Thank you.
Thank you. Personnel reports are in the materials, and the retirement memoirs are in the materials. Honorary degree materials are in the honorary degrees are in the materials. I now call for a vote on the consent agenda. Is there a motion? So moved. Second? All in favor? Opposed? Same sign. Thank you. We'll go now to Finance and Property. The Alternative and Assets Commitment. Jeff Chettis.
We have two alternative asset commitment items for approval, Plural Platform and Holdco Opportunities. I recommend both of these for approval.
Second.
All in favor? Opposed? The 7300 West Joy Road, Dexter, Michigan. Jeff Chettis.
We have two items. One, 7300 West Joy.
Oh, I'm sorry. The other one. Yeah.
Yeah. 7300 West Joy Road, Dexter, Michigan. That first is an authorization to purchase real estate. And the second, 7300 West Joy Road, again, same building, specialty pharmacy expansion and approval to proceed with the project. The acquisition of this property will help consolidate specialty pharmacy operations. The project addresses various building enhancements and code upgrades, including energy use reduction identified by the building assessment report. We recommend these two actions for approval.
Motion to approve.
So moved.
And second. All in favor? And opposed? Same sign. Thank you. The University of Michigan Health Brighton Center for Specialty Care Shell Space Utilization.
Nothing to add, Madam President.
But I do a separate vote on this. Okay.
Yeah.
Is there a motion? Second. Okay. All in favor? Opposed? Same sign. Thank you. Michigan Stadium scoreboard replacement. Jeff Chattis.
I am going to call on Rob Radermaker, COO of Athletics, to provide us some background.
Thank you, Board of Regents, President Coleman, Executive Officers, for having me. I'm here to talk about the Michigan Stadium and some video and production upgrades associated with that facility, as well as some of our other facilities within athletics. So if you can go to the first slide, please. I'm going to discuss the scope of this, which really focuses on aging technology that's become incredibly difficult to maintain, source replacement parts, and we have production equipment that we no longer support the video quality required today. And so the first part of this project is focused on the production room upgrades. Within Chrysler Arena in the back of house, there's actually space dedicated to 3 production studios, 3 separate ones that drive 3 separate shows at one time. And that production room serves multiple athletic facilities, not just the stadium, not just Chrysler, but it also serves across our whole campus, field hockey, Yost, soccer, indoor track, baseball, and softball. So it drives many facilities within our space. In addition, most of the content that we produce for the Big Ten Network, as well as our digital media platforms for all of our teams, is produced there. And so it's a pretty important space. And that piece of the project is going to cost $8 million, is what the estimates have come in at. The second part of this is associated with Michigan Stadium. In the 2 video boards we have, and we have 2 of them at the north and south end, and we will be replacing those. We will be going larger, and we anticipate that to be approximately $12 million of the 41 that we were asking for. Also associated is the audio system within the entire stadium. It is not just a piece at the north end that's associated in the video board, but it's on the concourses and at the gates that we use for public safety announcements and those sorts of things throughout the game, not just what you hear inside the bowl. And so we're also replacing that as part of this project. Next slide, please. Thank you. Right now, within the current boards, there's a catwalk that we use for access from a safety perspective to service the boards. It actually doesn't service all of the boards, and so we will be modifying that to not only give us full access, but also for the new larger enclosure that's associated with these larger boards. And so that is approximately $4 million. And then the associated infrastructure, site work, and design fees that are typical of any project, we're estimating to be $12 million. And there's some pieces of this associated with the boards of columns and foundations as well that is in that line item. Our source of funding for this, we plan to fully fund this up front, okay, with athletic department gifts that are restricted for capital purposes, right? So we will not be touching our operating budget with this, and it's all gift funds. And we don't anticipate any additional operating expenses with this project or additional personnel needed to run the new technology. All of our associated people that we currently have in place are capable and ready and excited to run the new scoreboards. So,
thank you, Rob. Is there a motion to approve? I'm going to have a comment. Can we do the questions? Do we have a motion to approve?
So moved.
And a second? Okay, now, any comments? And I think Regent Illich had a comment, and then I'll call on you, Regent Acker.
Thank you, President Coleman. A couple comments. Thank you, Rob. It was a great presentation. I first just want to thank the donors that are funding this infrastructure. It's phenomenal that we are so fortunate to be able to have such generous donors to do this on our behalf. I also just want to reiterate a little bit of my experience in sports and with stadiums. And I can't begin to tell you the enhancement of a scoreboard and the infrastructure and the new technology around it, how much it enhances the fan experience. It will be like night and day. I'm still on my wish list is a ring, which also is a lot of fun, and I'm hoping we get to that eventually. But I also think that the clarity of the announcements, because we're in such a big stadium, it's going to make it a lot easier to make announcements and to be really clear. To me, this is an investment in our fans and our fan experience, and it is a reinvestment in our infrastructure. I also want to say that it is quite typical to update this kind of infrastructure in a sports arena because the technology, and I know you know this, Rob, but for those that may not be in sports as you know, on an everyday deal, the technology is just changing so fast. It's ever changing. And so we have to really stay present with it. And so I think this is a very good investment. Thank you.
Thank you.
And reinvestment.
Thank you, Regent Illich.
Thank you.
Regent Acker.
Thank you, President Coleman. Regent Illich stole most of the questions I was going to ask, but I along the lines of what Regent Illich was talking about, a lot of this is investment in technology and infrastructure and the institution of Michigan Stadium and the athletic campus. When was the last time we upgraded the production room?
It was, I believe, 2013 as part of the Chrysler renovation when we did that project.
Okay, so we have decade-old technology in other
Correct.
words, that needs to be updated. Okay, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Yes, yes, Brown.
So much. I'm obviously like many people that saw the first headline, which simply said scoreboard and a price tag. I've now come to understand that this is much broader, much deeper, and positively affects many, many of our sports teams, men's and women's. And so thank you for that clarity. It's a wonderful upgrade. And just again to point out that financially, these are being paid for by gifts, and the athletic department overall historically is one of the very few in the country collegiate athletic departments that is actually self-funded and actually pays money back to the academic side of the house general fund. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. We now have to have a vote. So all in favor? And opposed, same sign. Thank you very much. We now have the Central Campus Recreation Building replacement because as we build this new CCRB, we have to have a place for our students to go. And I think that we're going to get Vice President Harmon. I think you're introducing this.
Yes, thank you very much, President Coleman. As you may recall, before the pandemic, the Central Campus Recreation Building was approved for a rebuild following extensive renovations to other sports facilities. Unfortunately, as Kevin Orlowski did a great job describing, thank you, Kevin, that project was delayed due to challenges brought on by the pandemic. I'm very excited for today's step toward a new permanent facility that will allow greater access and opportunity for students, faculty, and staff to improve their health and well-being. And it's important to note, this is not just a great sports facility. It's not just a fitness center. It is connected to the health and well-being of students, faculty, and staff, and that's critically important. We recognize how important recreation is to well-being, so we're also planning on a temporary facility that will address those needs while the new facility is being built. So at this time, I'm pleased to introduce Mike Wyden from Recreation Sports and Jack Patton, who is representing the firms of IDS and RDG.
So let me just say something. I think I misspoke. This is the new CCRB. And I apologize for that. So this is the wonderful design for the new and improved CCRB. Sorry. Yeah.
Yes, exactly. Madam President and Board of Regents and members of the Executive Committee, we're honored to be here to present this design today for you, for your consideration. With your review and approval for replacement of the Central Campus Recreation Building, you'll be further advancing the 110-year history of collegiate recreation at the University of Michigan. It's unprecedented. Following your review of the important renovations that have occurred at the NCRB and the IMSB, this new facility known as the CCRB will fulfill an important part of the vision outlined in the Recreation Sports Master Plan. Factually, the new structure will provide significant, beneficial, highly sustainable programs for campus, wellness, and recreation. Right here in the heart of your campus, just across the street from this fabulous meeting space. This building has a wonderful address. It's perfectly situated on the northeast corner of Geddes and Washtenaw, an important edge of this great campus. The planning for this building respects pedestrian and vehicular circulation, all the natural land features of the site, and it welcomely connects to the primary pedestrian way that crosses Washtenaw, the location of the main entry to the new CCRB. The CCRB will fit extremely well among all of its many student life neighbors around Palmer Field. Viewed from the pedestrian way that crosses over Washtenaw, this handsome structure has a wonderful scale and a composition. It is clothed in terracotta, stone, metal skin, and it fits extremely well with the existing materials found in this part of campus. It's a very energy efficient structure designed for high performance. Only 23% of the building's exterior is glass, but all of that is situated judiciously and strategically to provide natural light to the many active spaces within and intentionally be transparent to invite users so they will explore and use the active wellness and recreation spaces that occur inside. This student-focused facility creates as much program space as is possible for the allocated budget. The new CCRB will be fully accessible throughout, users, staff, those that maintain the building alike. It provides 200,000 gross square feet across 5 different floor levels, and the building is filled with multi-purpose activity spaces that will provide program and space flexibility long into the future. This building has some great things about it, and we've talked about the outside, and Mike Wyden will share the great offerings inside the building.
Thank you, Jack, and good afternoon. I'm really excited to be here today to talk to you about what's inside this facility, to give you a chance to see how truly comprehensive this facility will be. What you'll see inside has been directly informed by the outreach and engagement we've done with students. Students like Kevin and his predecessors at Building a Better Michigan and thousands of other students on campus. Their feedback was critical to develop these types of spaces that are important to the student experience. So with this same view, we're going to tear off the skin of the building and look inside. Inside, you'll see a number of opportunities and comprehensiveness as we talked about looking east here with this vision. On the left, you'll see multiple levels of fitness and the main entry lobby. Then moving down to the right, you'll see things like a cycling studio, an indoor jogging track, group exercise facilities, locker rooms, an incline ramp and indoor turf area. Again, an extension of the jogging track here, 4 courts worth of gymnasium spaces, and a natatorium. Looking at a couple of these spaces close up, this is what the natatorium will be. The natatorium will include 3 different bodies of water, a lap pool that's 25 yards by 25 meters, a recreation pool designed with shallower water for things like indoor or aquatic basketball and volleyball, and a recovery pool in the foreground for use for pre or post workout. You'll also see in this image and many of the images to come, the U of M branding that exists. And that was a really strong component that we heard from our students. Our students want these spaces to say, this is Michigan. And that was really important to have this level of branding. Another major space is the 3-court gymnasium on the upper level. This will host many different types of gymnasium activities, basketball, volleyball, pickleball, badminton, and the like. You'll also see the great amount of natural light that exists in this space. You'll see that in multiple pictures as well. Here's that same view looking east, but just a different section of the building. And we'll talk again about how comprehensive this building is with, on the left, group exercise space, more fitness, which is strength and cardio, a bouldering area, and an expansive climbing wall, additional fitness. You can see the jogging track, indoor turf area, group exercise rooms, 3 racquetball courts, and 2 squash courts. Diving into a couple of these spaces, you can see this image of the climbing wall that spans 4 levels of the building. This will be a major component of the building's entry and draw a lot of activity into the space. You'll also see in the background a number of spaces for cardio that are filled with natural light that does not exist in the Central Campus Recreation Building today. Here in our final image of the interior, this is a functional fitness space. This space has multiple activities that can be done in this space. We've got space for functional training, an indoor turf ramp, an indoor turf court, as well as strength equipment and a jogging track that encircles this portion of the building as well. So to summarize, as you can see, this is a truly comprehensive facility built for student experience. This is a prime example for many decades to come of our campus's commitment to health and well-being for our students and our entire University of Michigan community. Jack and I appreciate the opportunity to share this project with you today and look forward to being able to create these types of spaces for our campus. Thank you.
Thank you. Regent Illich?
Well, first of all, this is terrific for the health and wellness of our students. This is very exciting and critically needed. Will there be branding like the Block M on the outside of the building?
On the outside, I don't know.
Yeah, I saw it on the inside, but it's pretty plain on the outside. There's no branding. And since you had said that the students asked for that, will there be a Block M on the front?
I don't know that there will be one on the outside, but what we heard from the students is when you walk into the building and you're in there working out, recreating, you want to feel like you're at Michigan.
Would you consider putting the Block M on the outside? Or
Yeah, I think we'd have to.
Take that as input. I think it would look really terrific and build a lot of pride.
Tasteful way to do it.
Yeah.
The golf clubhouse.
Right.
Yeah, that's a great example.
Yeah, some of the athletic facilities, but they're very beautiful.
They're
done.
beautiful,
They're done
and so-
very well. So
yes.
I think we'll look into that. It's a good suggestion. Okay, is there a motion? Oh, I'm sorry. Please go ahead.
That first picture appeared to have the very large tree gone, and for the record, I want to make sure everyone knows that tree will be staying so that we don't have anybody asking after the fact. It's just we wanted you to see the whole building. I did grow up.
Yeah, no, I know all about tree moving and not moving and preserving, so very good. Is there a motion to approve? And the support? All in favor? And opposed, same sign. Thank you very much. This is a very exciting project. I'm now going to call on Vice President Herman to bring in a supplemental item for building naming.
Thank you again, President Coleman. I'm delighted to present this request. William and Ingrid Ginsburg, who endowed the Edward Ginsburg Center for Community Service and Learning in 1999, have made an additional $10 million gift to fund the construction of a new building to house the center. The new building will meet a great need. It will provide much needed space for students, faculty, and community partners to engage thousands of people in community service and learning. As Executive Vice President Jeff Chattis mentioned earlier, it will help the university meet our carbon neutrality. The building will include a geothermal exchange system to increase energy efficiency, along with many other sustainability features. The gift will fully fund the building's construction. But I'd like to also tell you a little bit about the Ginsburg family legacy. Edward, class of 1938, and Rosalie Ginsburg lived a life dedicated to serving others. They devoted themselves to helping those less fortunate, supporting their local community, as well as Jewish organizations in the U.S. and Israel in the days following World War II. They instilled a profound sense of service in their family. Their son, William, and his wife, Inger, have carried forward that commitment. William and Inger have given more than $16 million to UM, the place their father loved. They have had a direct and profound impact on service learning at Michigan. In recognition of the Ginsburg's exceptional generosity, I recommend the Board of Regents approve this request to name the Edward and Rosalie Ginsburg Building in honor of William's parents. It will be a fitting legacy for a remarkable and inspiring family. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there a motion? Second? All in favor? Aye. And opposed, same sign. Thank you very much. This is just a wonderful news. Items 9 through 16 are conflict of interest items, each which requires 6 votes for approval. The Regents have carefully reviewed all these items, and we will consider them together as a block in one vote unless any Regent requests individual consideration of or recusal from voting on a particular item. Does anyone have any questions about any of the items? Would any Regents like to request recusal from voting on any items? I now call for a vote on items 9 through 16. Is there a motion to approve? Second? Second. A show of hands, roll call. Thank you very much. And we have 6 votes, at least we have 7 votes for approval. In other business, we have approval of the academic calendar for 2023-24 for the University of Michigan Flint. Do you have any comments, Chancellor Duda? Is there a motion to approve? Second? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Same sign. Thank you very much. Public comment will be focused on the presidential search, and committee co-chair Regent Hubbard will introduce the session.
Thank you for joining us today so that the Regents may hear your thoughts about the next president. We ask that you focus your comments on these 2 questions. During the next 3 to 5 years, what priorities should the new president set to be successful? And what background, qualifications, and experience should the next president possess to be successful in advancing the university mission? As with the other listening sessions, we'll limit each speaker to 2 minutes to ensure we're able to hear from as many people as possible in the time allocated. We really appreciate your coming in to tell us your thoughts.
Would you like me to start calling on
Please,
the speakers,
yes.
Regent Hubbard? Thank you. So our first speaker who signed up to speak on the presidential search is Ria Basha.
Still a little too tall for me. Good afternoon. My name is Ria Basha, and I'm a second-year law student at the law school. But I've spoken to many of you before in my capacity here in undergrad when I was the managing editor of the Michigan Daily. In fact, I used to write the profiles for candidates for the Board of Regents before each general election. Regents Acker, Bernstein, Brown, Illich, and Weiser, each of you has looked me in the eye in the last 4 years and promised that if you were elected, you would practice moral consistency and a responsiveness to students. These are the exact same qualities that I expect in a president. These promises, however, are nowhere to be found when this board and the past 3 university presidents have ignored student petitions to divest from Israel over the last decade and a half. At the same time, you all chose to pull investments from Russia unilaterally without any community input and, quote, consistent with overtly political statements made by President Coleman. I'm now back on campus at the law school, and many of you are lawyers, so you'll recognize a fact pattern when you see one. An unsanctioned military occupation, the imprisonment of political dissidents, and the creation of second-class citizens. Am I speaking about Russia or about Israel? I support the divestment from occupation and apartheid, but like cases should be treated alike. I am looking for a president who will avoid the silence and hypocrisy of past administrations. Thank you very much.
Our next speaker is Hasba Tout.
I think we're about the same height. Good afternoon. Thank you for being here. My name is Hafsa Tut. I am a third-year student at the law school. This is not the first time that I stand before you all, but probably the last because I don't intend on getting a second law degree. I have been here for almost 8 years. I've invested a lot of my time and emotion and effort into this school. I've invested a lot of myself into this school, and I want to see it succeed in the future. And I want to see a president who is true to the promise of listening to students, a president that can respond to campus culture and things that happen on this campus that affect students. In 2017, the Michigan student body voted to ask this board to appoint a committee to investigate the possibility of divesting from 4 companies whose operations in occupied Palestine implicate serious human rights concerns that thousands of students have. That came after almost 20 years of advocacy by students, resulted in a simple request to the board to create a committee to investigate the possibility. And the board responded by issuing a couple paragraph statement that fundamentally mischaracterized the request of students and rejected the request that took 20 years to get to that stage. I was one of the Central Student Government representatives that drafted that resolution in 2017, and its passage was historic, but should have happened a long time ago. The statement that the board issued in response to that resolution read, quote, "We remain committed to the university's longstanding policy to shield the endowment from political pressures. But here we are in 2022 when the board and interim president are openly, unhesitatingly, and quickly making decisions and changes to the endowment in response to undeniably political situations across the world, which fully deserve that response, but which directly contradict that supposed commitment to shielding the endowment from political pressure. And I want to know what the difference is, and I urge the board to issue a response and look for a president who will continue to listen to student concerns. Thank you."
Our next speaker is Daniel Olay.
That's Olette, like the main street in Windsor. Thank you, President Coleman and Board of Regents, for this opportunity. Leaders in best, as the song goes. Some of you no doubt watched Michigan play basketball last weekend. It was a joy to watch them win. Nothing else mattered on the court but the excellence and achievement of the Wolverines. We'll find out soon if they indeed are the leaders in best. Unfortunately, the academic portion of this university is not so focused on excellence, the robotic hand research notwithstanding. The diversity, equity, and inclusion industry has taken root. It is dedicated to the idea that we are simply members of groups, that our qualities come not from our uniqueness as individuals, but from the group we're assigned to. When DEI says that group representation must be proportional, excellence becomes secondary. This tribalism has been tried many times before. It didn't work in the 1850s. It didn't work in the 1950s. And it's not sustainable today. There are 2 paths before you in this search for our next U of M president. You can take the DEI approach and consider the cosmetic traits of a candidate, but you trivialize and you dishonor our civil rights movement. When you exclude a portion of the candidate pool, you increase the chance of hiring someone who cannot do the job. The other path is the one offered by Martin Luther King, the person whose birthday this campus celebrates every year. For each candidate, you can study the content of their character. You can focus on their excellence and achievement, just as we do with our Wolverines. That is how MLK would have you do it. If you take this approach, you will have a president that is truly a leader in best.
Thank you. Our next speaker, the rest of the speakers are not related to the presidential search necessarily. The next one is Juan Cole.
President Coleman, Regents, I'm Juan Cole. I teach in the history department. As a faculty member who has taught the modern history of climate change, I am like you, and I thank you for your commitment, passionate about the efforts of our beloved institution to become a sustainable campus. The President's Commission on Climate Neutrality called for a national search to be launched for an executive leader on carbon neutrality who would advise the President and who would work to change the culture at the university. This position has not been filled, even though a precious year has lapsed. I urge in the strongest possible terms that a search committee be appointed immediately to identify the strongest and best candidates across the nation. It would be extremely helpful to our incoming president to be able to hit the ground running on the central issue of carbon neutrality. And we cannot afford to leave this position unfilled for another year. The urgency of this step should be clear. We missed our goal for carbon reduction in 2021. The University of Michigan is ranked 94 of 325 universities for campus sustainability by the Sierra Club. The Maize and Blue are used to being number one. Further, the commission committed to specific goals that UM would meet by 2025. And without an executive leader in place, we may not achieve our announced benchmarks. This failure would reflect poorly on our institution and send entirely the wrong message to our students and community. Thank you.
Our next speaker is Elaine Land. Or Landy? Elaine?
Hello. Sure. Thank you. I'm a lecturer in the Comprehensive Studies program here in LS&A. I've been teaching mathematics at the university for 6 years, and prior to that, I worked in the Center for Research on Learning and Teaching and also completed my PhD in the School of Education here. I'm here to speak to you about the menstrual products in the university's bathrooms. I am a Gen Xer. I learn a lot from my students. They are not shy or embarrassed to talk about their periods, as my generation and those before them were. I am following their lead. While the need for feminine products in the bathrooms may be difficult for some men to understand, I liken this to someone defecating and then realizing there's no toilet paper, or in this case, having no expectation of toilet paper available. 20 years ago, almost all public bathrooms, including those in this university, had machines where you could pay, usually a quarter, to get what you needed. In the last 10 years, these have disappeared, leaving us with no other option than to stuff toilet paper in our underwear or just bleed through our clothes. I teach two-hour classes back-to-back in Mason Hall, one of the buildings where the pilot program has been running now for several years. Having tampons available in the bathroom has been wonderful and has saved me from having to return to my classroom to get a tampon, or worse, on many occasions. The lack of response to the student groups and the city of Ann Arbor is kind of an embarrassment to the university. One pertinent comment from the Ann Arbor Townies Facebook group that resonated with me was, I remember when U of M would be leading these efforts rather than trying to play catch up. I speak here today not only for myself and my students, but also for my 9-year-old daughter. I encourage you to make feminine products available in the university bathrooms in all floors, in Ann Arbor, Flint, and Dearborn. I hope that the university can pick up the lead on this and become a model for other universities around the country. Thank you.
Xavier DeGroat.
I'm a relentless autism advocate that has begun to make many changes in our state of Michigan. Recently, Governor Gretchen Whitmer signed a new law that allows people voluntarily with autism to register at the Secretary of State's office so law enforcement officers pull them over appropriately. And here in the University of Michigan, I would like to increase that emphasis to our students that have autism and help build sensory rooms. Most recently, I talked to a health system of here at U of M, and we're looking to donate over $100,000 and building a sensory room at the hospital. And I give a lot of my thanks to help beginning this conversation with Vice President Tom Baird and also Chief Robert Newman for having me here today. And it's been my pleasure to always be a fan of Michigan since I was a student and always heard Lloyd Carr out of my father and made me read more into the history. So I would like to share that we have an upcoming event on May 20th with Coach Jim Harbaugh, and we expect a lot of prolific figures like Attorney General Dana Nessel to participate, as well as any of you Board of Regents to help raise awareness about autism and what we're going to raise money to do here at the university to help impact those on a spectrum to succeed independently in life and have an environment that protects their sensitivities from being overstimulated. And so if I could have any one of you attend, it would be very much a pleasure, and I appreciate all your service. Thanks.
Yeah. Regent, I understand Regent Hubbard, you want to make a comment?
Thank Mr. DeGroat for being here. Appreciate your presence. I know you're a tireless advocate on behalf of autism and the causes. The money you've raised and the awareness you've built is really to be highly respected. And so I appreciate your being here and look forward to your event.
Regent Illich?
Welcome you here. You and I have talked quite a bit in the past. And thank you for doing this event. Thank you for the work that you do. It's really important, so we appreciate it.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Skyla Park. I'm not sure if Skyla checked in. Skyla? Okay. Our next speaker is Matthew Dargay.
Good evening. Thank you. Appreciate it. Good evening. My name is Matt Dargay, and I'm a Master's of Social Work student. Social work students have to complete what's called a field placement, which is essentially an internship as a requirement of their graduation. For instance, my field placement is with the City Council, where I conduct policy research. The work that social work students put into their field placements sustains field sites across the state. But unfortunately, almost all field placements, including 8 out of 9 in the University of Michigan, are completely unpaid. So some of my colleagues and I have started an organization called Payment for Placements, which wants the university to invest in future generations of social workers. We applaud the University of Michigan for affording stipends to public policy students and law students who have decided to take their internships with public interest firms. And we believe that social work students should be treated similarly. We now know that now more than ever, in the 3rd year of this pandemic, Michigan's mental health needs are acute. So guaranteeing payment for placements would represent a timely, historic investment in our state's behavioral health workforce. Take it from Governor Whitmer. In her State of the State address in January, she called for the creation of a workforce retention program to incentivize people joining and staying in the social work profession. I can think of no stronger incentive than lifting the financial barrier that is imposed by unpaid field work. So that is why Payment for Placements at the University of Michigan is seeking a meeting with the Regents and with the Provost. We know that U of M is capable of taking the lead on this issue, and it will reap unique rewards. We know that if Payment for Placements is implemented, social workers and students across the state will commend this body for investing in social work and revitalizing the profession. We have what it takes to be the leaders and best. Thank you.
Thank you. Ari Davey.
And social work student at U of M. As a student, I work an unpaid internship at development centers where I provide therapy to teens at a Detroit public school. Just last week, I supported a trans teen who was dealing with hostility from a teacher. It's challenging work, but as a trans social worker, it's always been my dream to uplift LGBT kids. The 914 hours I work in my internship are required for me to receive my master's degree. I do the same work as the paid staff at my agency, but I don't get paid. Social work students are in a financial crisis. 4 out of 5 of us work a job on top of 60 hours of schoolwork, and many quit their paying jobs when they start their internship. 2 out of 3 of us are debt burdened, and we make very little post-graduation. Students rely on 100-hour work weeks, skipping rental payments, and skipping meals to stay in school. UM gives stipends to student interns in other programs, public policy, public health, and the law school. Their situation is almost identical to ours, but the biggest difference between us is the gender and racial makeup of these departments. Social work is a women-dominated field and enrolls more people of color. We see this unequal treatment as a de facto feminized labor wage gap. It also bars low-income students and students of color from affording this degree. So in accordance with our petition that received 70% of our student body support, we want an annual allocation to the School of Social Work to give stipends to all students for their degree-required internships. We are asking the Regents to meet with us and vote whether to fund our internships, which you have the imminent power to do. Supporting us would reaffirm the university's commitment to diversity, equity, and inclusion for all students. At a time when there's a critical shortage of social workers in southeastern Michigan, we need to invest in the value of social work in our communities. Thank you, and we look forward to connecting with you.
Brian Demzik.
Thank you for the opportunity to. Thank you for the opportunity to address the board in this great new space. Historically, the U of M has been arguably, but you won't get an argument from me, the premier U.S. university in its commitment to public engagement. When the pandemic came, U of M, like a lot of institutions, was forced to go to a virtual format. Now, a lot of new studies, including some here at the U of M, have shown that information transfer over Zoom is impaired relative to live in-person delivery, or even relative to pre-recorded sessions. With COVID cases down significantly, the question is, why are so many events, for example, well over half to sometimes as much as 2/3 of those listed on the Happening at Michigan site, still done virtually? Is this not diminishing the U of M product, which at its essence is a dissemination of information? Thank you very much.
Thank you. I'm not sure our next 2 speakers are here, but I will call their names. Carla Voigt. Is Carla here? Okay. And then Levi Todd.
President Coleman, members of the Board of Regents, and executive officers. I stand before you today to give my end-of-the-year assessment on the University of Michigan Flint. During my tenure as student government president, I have worked alongside Chancellor Dutta and his cabinet to realize his extraordinary vision. At the center of his vision is students. I am grateful for the support and mentorship from all of the faculty, staff, and students at the Flint campus. This year, I have learned about this great institution that serves as an anchor in the Flint community. U of M Flint is innovating and changing the game on what it means to be a regional public institution. We are thinking of new ways to engage in the community and how our work serves the public good. When I look at the investment the University of Michigan has made in the city of Detroit, our university has been critical to the revitalization of that great city. The state of Michigan has another great city, Flint, with a similar history, challenges, and current realities. The city of Flint also has a regional campus of the University of Michigan. I can only imagine how we, the University of Michigan, as a whole, could positively impact a city, the city of Flint, through an unprecedented and historic investment into a community that is strong, resilient, and positioned to help the University of Michigan extend its positive representation. This investment starts with the Flint campus. I am calling on the University of Michigan to extend the innovation and resources it is investing in Detroit and to the Flint community, which is home to our beautiful University of Michigan campus. It is well known that the social climate of Michigan is the pulse of the nation. Furthermore, we know that the history of Flint is a representation of inequity in the United States. Let the University of Michigan Flint be a leader in equitable solutions by investing in it. As one institution, let the University of Michigan serve as a beacon of opportunity for all by investing in its mission to serve the people of Michigan by serving the people of Flint. God bless and go blue.
Justin Yan. I'm not sure Justin is here. Okay, our last speaker is Natalie Leach.
Sorry about that. Good afternoon. My name is Natalie Leach, and I'm approaching the end of my first year here on the Ann Arbor campus studying political science and psychology. I first want to note with sincerity that this year on campus has been more than I could have imagined. I am a dedicated child of Yoast. I'm loving my classes, have had wonderful experiences with my professors, and I've even made some friendships that I hope are lifelong and already know that I want to continue my graduate studies here. But the cracks are showing. In September, you were willing to bring an already three-figure salary closer to $1 million a year, while the summer prior, you approved a budget with language excluding students, the ones whose tuition partially covers that pay raise, from earning enough money to comfortably live in the city with one of the fastest growing rent rates in the country. When I say that I'm proud to be a Wolverine, I want to be able to say it with my whole chest and not have trailing thoughts of shame from basic ways that our university needs to improve. I'll admit that I don't know how to fix every problem that this university faces, but I do know one way to begin to heal these wounds: invest fully in your students. I'm not just saying to pay students $15 an hour. We have more than the means to do that. Be innovative. Tie a minimum campus wage to inflation so you don't have to vote year after year on this. Incentivize students to work in high demand places like the dining hall by crediting them for a meal plan for the time that they're employed. Whatever it is, show that you actually believe in us as students, as workers, and as people. We as students invest our money, our time, our energy, our labor, our knowledge into this university every single day, with student workers of all kinds being at the forefront of that investment and representation. I should not have to be here today reminding you that the university has the opportunity, nay, the responsibility, to wholeheartedly and selflessly invest back. For the leaders and the best, treating all workers with the dignity they deserve should be the minimum. Thank you, and go blue.
Agent Acker.
Thank you, Natalie, and to the rest of our speakers today. Although the board may not answer your concerns right away, just know that we're studying these important issues and we take your comments to heart. Thank you again for attending.
Thank you, and our meeting's adjourned.